Okay, so this isn't your typical ram pump installation or test, but right now I'm standing in the bed of a Dodge Ram 1500. So we're about 5 feet, 6 feet off the ground. I think to the top of the cab is 6 feet. So we got some flow. There's a step stool on top of here. So what's going on, man? What are we doing up here? Oh, I'll show you. Okay, so here's a quick demonstration of my little trickling ram pump right here. This is, I think 10 feet in the air, 11 feet in the air. And it's just barely a trickle. See it coming down right here. This is a 1/2 inch ram pump, but the reason it's barely a trickle is not only because this is 3/8 inch outside diameter polyethylene tubing that's run straight up as quick as possible, but also because you can see my gravity fed pump. This is just where the water source is. It's gravity fed to the pump itself. So the pump is 1/2 inch. I have a 3/4 model and a 1 inch model that pumps a lot better than this. Look at that. I'll go over how it works shortly, but not pumping very strong, right? Another reason why we're not getting that much output is because this line, we call this the drive line, or the drive pipe. This drive pipe is actually not rigid pipe. So this pump operates based off of water hammer, if you're familiar with the concept. And I also have a leak at the bottom of the bucket. But conventionally, you want your ram pump to be about 3 feet, maybe about a meter above where you want your water source to be about 3 feet, maybe a meter above where your ram pump is. Now we are not even 2 feet. Okay, we'll say about 2 feet with the grade. And we're using non-rigid drive pipe. And we are using 1/2 inch to 1/2 inch, or 1/2 inch to 3/8. So that's not gonna give us a lot of output. But you'll notice I'm not using any electricity doing this. No electricity whatsoever. So I kind of want to try with the same setup, although with rigid pipe. Right here, I'll use my 3/4 one, which I have right here. And we'll see how this baby performs compared to the other one. Okay, so in this demonstration, I'll actually explain how the pump works. This is my 3/4 inch pump being braced by my tool bag. We still don't have that much lift. Let's start from the beginning on this one. So this pump is gravity fed. That's one thing y'all have to understand. It's gravity fed. But with it being gravity fed, we're actually gonna send up water a lot higher without the use of electricity. So we call this hydrostatic pressure head, aka vertical lift. And basically the water source has to have a vertical lift or enough hydrostatic head pressure to power the pump. Now most people will tell you online that this required lift is about a meter, and the drive pipe has to be the same size as the pump entry, which this pump is all 3/4, except at the end it bushings down to 1/2 inch. Bushings right here actually. So this is 3/4 pipe coming in 1/2 inch. Okay, so gravity fed, we got that part. I got 2 hoses supplying about 28 gallons per minute through it. Vertical lift, about 2 feet. And with the gradient, you know, about 2 feet, okay? And most people will tell you that this drive pipe has to be about, sorry if I'm just getting horrible GoPro shots. Most people tell you that this pipe has to be about, I don't know, like, I think at least 15 feet long. Well, right now I'm operating off a 7, and this thing is cycling really well. Now, let's explain how the pump works before I actually get it flowing from up there at the top of my house. So, this is the waste valve. This is just temporary rigid pipe. Remember how I told you this PEX pipe that was feeding it is not rigid pipe? That's what I mean by not rigid. This is rigid pipe. Now, if you watch it closely, See it pulsating? That's absorbing water hammer. Water hammer is what happens when there's air left in the line and you open something too quickly and it causes pipes to shake in your house. For instance, if you live in an old house and you turn on the faucet upstairs too quickly and you hear some rattling in the walls. Luckily that doesn't happen too much anymore because we use PEX instead of copper, like this. Now, the good thing about hard pipes like copper and rigid pipes, I mean like PVC, is that it absorbs water hammer really well. Wouldn't want any English teachers getting mad at me for that. Really well, not really good. And which means it's able to contain this water hammer effect as it's gravity fed. This is a check valve that's installed upside down. Now a check valve, some of you may be able to tell me that a check valve is basically a backflow preventer. Water can only go one way. In this way, water can only go down. So how is it that water is coming up out of here? Interesting, right? So what happens is, as it's gravity fed, there's enough flow in here to actually close this off momentarily. You'll see it close. Closed, 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 closed. Every time it closes, it passes through another check valve because it has nowhere else to go. Now this check valve is actually pointing this way. After it passes this check valve, it really has nowhere else to go. So, it comes up through here into an air pressure tank. And here I actually have a bunch of memory foam that's non-absorbent foam. And you can see the water hammer spikes. We're getting up to about 20 PSI on the water hammer spikes. Let's open this up. It might stop, but it probably won't. Now we wait. Now if I installed a series of check valves on the PEX piping right here, it would probably push water a lot easier. But Sharkbite, owned by Nibco, love to price their check valves at like $30, which is a total waste of money. So everyone can blame Sharkbite as a company for that, for putting plumbers like myself out of business. Now it's gonna take some time for the water to reach that. You can see we're still pumping here. And I got my delivery open. There it goes. It's gonna start a little at first. See how it's coming in short order? That's where the check valves would come in. So if I had, instead of these push to connect couplings, if I had a check valve, water would only be able to go up straight. It wouldn't be able to backflow. And since I have such a very, very steep incline to this, you can see our water hammer's already dropped down to about, we're getting spikes of 7 PSI compared to 20. Which is directly because I've run this thing straight up immediately. Now, these installations are usually permanent and usually installed, you know, for a long period of time and run hundreds of yards. Now what I'm doing here is I'm making one that is essentially going to be plug and play for my kayak camping adventures. You can see my boat over here. So I paddle routinely on the San Marcos River, on the Guadalupe River, on the Colorado River for weeks at a time, all by myself. And I've been wanting to have water on tap from the river. And this seems like the easiest way to do it. This whole thing packs down. Oh, we lost the water hose. Actually, I want to see how well it performs with one water hose. It might shut off. Let's give it some time to build pressure back in the tank. So it's building pressure up in the tank right now. Water hammer is still pretty low. Let's open it up. And what I could even do is adjust that even lower. So we're about 4 feet from the top of the cab. And I said we're about 6 feet from the ground to the cab. So that's about 10 feet. But let's subtract this. And you know, these are rough measurements. So, you know, I'm just gonna call it 2 feet. I honestly don't care. It's about 8 feet. Now, it's poly pipe, 3/8 inch. It's wrapped around. That's gonna decrease efficiency. I was thinking if I add a check valve where it slopes, that would definitely increase efficiency. I was thinking if I just replace the poly with PEX altogether, that would increase efficiency, because I'm really sick of how winding the poly pipe is. It's very hindering to the pump. So excuse the mess here. I've been soldering. So I pressure tested one of my hoses with my air water manifold here that I made, and it pressure tested to 50 psi, just one of my garden hoses. And what I'm doing here is basically simulating a waterfall. There's a stream on a standpipe that's not really getting much flow. Most of our water is coming down here. And I realized that I can't simulate a river in my driveway. The way this thing is supposed to work is it's supposed to stake in the river. Flow is supposed to enter through the stream. The sweep can be level with the pump. Because hydrostatic pressure, as long as atmospheric pressure is above water level, and this is a couple inches below water level where most flow is, atmospheric pressure will push the water down. Flow will also do that, of course. So we don't need to slope and gravity the drive pipe. In theory, I haven't tested on the river, but there's so much waste because this isn't designed for that. I put another bucket down here. Went ahead and added a second drive pipe. You can see where I basically just, you know, chop stuff together. I'm the reason for the plastic shortage, me alone, I swear. So we got like literally 12 feet. I'd measure it, but I'm too lazy. Got 12 feet of drive pipe. Most people that talk about ram pumps say you need a minimum of 15 feet, especially with the half-inch pump. That's a damn lie. I've proved this over and over. So we have a half-inch ram pump entirely. Usually people take the supply line like I did, you know, it's 1.5 inches, it's pretty big compared to the rest of it. But they'll take like a 3-inch supply line, feed it to, let's say, like a 1-inch drive pipe, which is the same as the size of your pump, so a 1-inch pump. But the air chamber would be like 3 inches or 4 inches. And then the output is always so much smaller than the pump itself. So if we're dealing with a 1-inch, the output would be, you know, 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch. I'm doing everything in 1/2 inch, man. And you saw the flow that I was getting. So, and I've got a lot of ways to improve on this. This pump right here, just 2-inch PVC is the air chamber. It's got a clean out at the top in case I need to take out the foam inside that actually utilizes the water pressure, or the water hammer, I should say. Some people use balloons. I just use this high density like mattress foam that I bought on Amazon. And I'm definitely considering replacing this poly pipe with something better, because it's frustrating. Ugh, excuse me, it's like 4 in the morning. I'm working on this on a Friday night. That's how weird I am. So it's running up the F-150 to the step ladder. If I put a check valve about right there where it slopes, I think that's gonna increase efficiency or output like crazy. So let's check this thing. Yeah, it's not flowing as well as it was earlier. Interesting. This is full. Yeah, it's full. So we got some decent flow. Let's see if we can time a minute here. I got 5:02. Let's say 5:02:30. Gosh, it's 5 in the morning. Okay, so let's give it a minute. We're gonna calculate gallons per minute, if that's not obvious. Oh, 27:30. This is a gallon pitcher, by the way. Calling it at 30. Okay. So let's see how much water we got here. Got a little water bottle over here. This thing doesn't really have units on it, but like I said, it's a gallon. So I'm sorry. Just emptying out fresh water. That was from the ram pump. And I need to go shut that off so I don't waste any more water. Water is a very precious resource, which is why I'm trying to utilize it. Oh, come on now. Spilled a little bit of it. I'm guessing it's gonna fill the whole thing up, even though I'm spilling a lot of it. Yeah, so we filled the whole thing up, and yeah, that's about it. So, what is this, like 16, 17 fluid ounces? Yeah, 16.9. Wow. Okay, so that's like just over 1/10 of a gallon per minute, I want to say. I'd have to just do the math online or something. But just based off of what I'm seeing right here, I have a lot of hope for this. In fact, I don't think you even need a 2-foot or 3-foot hydrostatic vertical drop. Everything I've read online is based off of Bernoulli's equations of fluid dynamics. And while I'm not going to contest that, you know, the math behind the physics that allow this to work is wrong, I will say that with certain adjustments, you can bypass some of the quote-unquote requirements of a ram pump installation. I've got this half-inch pump working with 1 foot of hydrostatic pressure head before, and it was pumping them pretty well. I had a very long dry pipe though. It was about 20 feet, so very long for me. Most people have like 100-foot dry pipe. This thing's just kicking away. Now let's shut off the bottom bucket that's doing all the work. I didn't even bother threading this either. There's like no thread tape. Okay, so as soon as I shut off the bottom bucket, we don't have enough pressure to close the valve. None at all. This thing will not prime. I guarantee it. You could sit here all day. It's because it's not hitting the screen. But on the river, I hope it works. Let's let it build some. If I didn't have those bungees all hooked up to the buckets, I'd slightly adjust them and run some different tests. Wow, you can see my glue and primer there just getting ruined probably. Oh well. Not really a fan of Odie brands anyway. Well, some of their glue's alright. I like their clear PVC cement. Yep, this thing is not gonna run. 100%.